Peter, yeah. Recording in progress. Okay, what did we think of part two?
I liked it, but I feel like I don't remember much of it because a lot of things have happened.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I feel like my comment about saying like when they're going back and forth and I wasn't confused, I got confused. I was like, damn it, I jinxed it with the whole,
Yeah.
I think it was the mom, right? The mom was Anna Lee.
Mhm.
Um, and I think it's just me because I was listening to it and I like I said before, I prefer to actually read it and I think maybe I'm more of a visual than like a listener.
Mhm.
So I think that's why I don't remember a lot of the stuff. I was trying to multitask and it just maybe in the parts that I should have been listening, I wasn't really. So yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
there's Eileen.
There she is. I guess
I
we'll
agree. I
just
kind of got lost. I liked the first section more.
yeah.
Um, but the timelines are getting me confused. I'm
Yeah.
reading it, so it's a little. Do think it's easier because I've the past like 3 books I've listened to.
Mhm.
Um, so it's easier to follow along with the timelines, but I agree.
We totally jinxed it though. Like I
So
was
she
so
does it so
happy.
well, and she does
Mhm. Mhm.
There were some like uncomfortable storylines in this one with like the dove
Yeah.
stuff and I don't know, maybe that's we didn't like it.
Mhm.
He's very cringeworthy and inappropriate. Yeah.
And it's interesting because it's like I know it's a video game stuff, right? But I know that they're also not going to mention all these different themes. And I kind of like that it was subtle. But then, like, let's say you have gone through something like that, like, should we get trigger warnings ahead of time? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. That was a lot. And it's kind of sad that it goes back with like the whole, like, the men are the ones in power. And they didn't even want to
Mhm.
include like a female character or the whole gender
Mhm.
identity where they're like, oh, it has to be a female or a male. It can't just be nothing. And I don't know, I thought that was interesting. I was like, it's subtle, but it's still there and it's like being mentioned. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. But even the players themselves, like I think my sister, like most of the people she games with are guys, just because there's not like as many girl gamers out there
Yeah.
comparatively.
Or even like towards the end where I think I mean I never thought whether Sam had been with someone or not. And he's like, oh yeah, I lost my virginity to this girl. And I was like, oh, so he's, like he's been with
Mhm.
people. And they're like, oh yeah, he's been with 3 girls and 1 guy. And I was like, oh, like
Oh,
I did
yeah.
not see that coming either. And like it's just so subtle, but like it
Inclusive
kind
at
of
the same
meant,
time. Yeah.
yeah.
I thought it was like sad when Sam had to get his foot amputated. I was like, well, how could he like be going through this and then like still focusing on trying to make a video game
Mhm.
Mhm.
Maybe he was using it. I was thinking he was using it as to like cope.
as an
He
escape? Yeah, that
lost
makes sense.
something, but he can create this thing.
Yeah. But do you all think about like how for the first game they were like, oh, it's like Sam, you know? Do you think like it was more his life story in it? And I don't know. I felt like I never I guess imagined games as like a way that people could like express like their life events. So I found it kind
Yeah.
of interesting like as a creative medium. Um I wonder if maybe that's also why what is her name? Sadie?
Mhm.
Sadie felt like it wasn't as much her game, especially since Sam was the one doing all the promos. But at the same time, it's complicated because then she says she doesn't like doing the promos. So I'm
Exactly.
just like, whoa, this is a lot. It's a lot of nitty gritty here.
It's like she doesn't really know what she wants.
Yeah, I think so.
So it makes it hard. Because obviously she did a big portion of that. But
Hmm.
it goes back to like in those times they're still looking at, oh, it's the men who are doing the programming, you
Exactly.
know? So it's kind of sad that she's like, well, I can't do much. I can't say like, I did part of it because they're still not gonna really believe it, I guess.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, they even thought, was his name Max or Marx, was like more of like a programmer role at one point, right? But did you think about like when Marx's girlfriend was like, "Oh, kiss me," and then she kissed Sadie kissed Marx, and then they were like, "Oh, we're high," and then but he wasn't high. That was like a surprise to me. So I feel like I wonder if that was like a clue that they're gonna get together for me.
yeah, that's what I was like. I felt like that was a hint for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Paula said. She said they're gonna get together.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, it feels very natural, and she's like,
Mhm.
oh, it was like kissing a brother, and she's like, no, it wasn't, and like you can tell, like they're trying to make it seem like, oh, we're friends, but not. We can tell that not really.
I think Sadie might be in denial because she had like some disdain for Marx at the beginning. She was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, like we don't really need him," but then he seems like very charismatic and likable. So I do think it's gonna happen eventually.
I feel like, at least in this part, I think in the beginning, the first part we had, she was more of like, I hate Marx. I don't want him around. He's doing too, like, he's saying, or he's doing too much of this project, and he
Mhm.
shouldn't because he's not a programmer, right? And then in the
Mhm.
second section, he's like, you hear her say, oh, yeah, I like Marx, or he does this, or he does that. And I can feel like it's slowly changing. And it's
Yeah,
gonna be more of like, oh, yeah, I love you. I love you too.
I wonder if that does happen. Like, will it be awkward with Zoe since she's the one like making the music for the games and stuff? But I still feel like her role, of course, is more minor compared to the other three.
Yeah.
This is weird, but I wonder if Sam and Marx ever got together. Like, who is this random guy?
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't say which guy it was.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I feel like it could be, because I think, wasn't he saying that Marx was someone that went around
Mhm.
and didn't
Yeah.
really date people for long periods of time? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, they were roommates, but I feel like it could be.
Eve. Mhm.
I feel so bad for Sam. No, he's just so sickly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know why this book gives me, like, I know the stories are not alike at all, but The
Mhm.
Fault in the Stars,
Mhm.
in the book, he has something with his leg, right? Or he gets amputated.
Yes, I think it was part of his cancer.
Yeah, oh yeah. And like obviously you forget in the movie because they don't really make that a big part. But in the
Mhm.
book, I always remember that. And when this book was starting and they were like, "Oh, my sister has cancer," and blah 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 blah, and I was like, "Oh, it's giving me like," I already forgot her name, but the main character in like The Fault in the Stars. And then
Yeah, I had that too. Mhm.
yeah, and then they start mentioning his leg, and I was like, weird how it has to be like those two things from a previous book, but they're also here, and I'm just like, oh, like it's not the same, but kind of has a parallel.
I like, yeah, I like what you're saying because it kind of reminds me of what we said a little bit ago. Like, I think the author is doing a really good job at making a unique narrative,
Mhm.
but also like including things that are very common themes in other books without making them like the main focal point, but she's still addressing them in I think a pretty like tactful way. Like she's paying enough attention to them where it seems meaningful without kind of skating over it. Like and like I think like in the last book, like we were taking issue a little bit with like some of the things seemed like really serious, but then the author didn't seem to be taking them that serious. And I think this time like it's interwoven like really nicely where you do pay attention to it, but it's not like the main conflict or focal point of the book. So I do like that because I think it keeps it more interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't want to say like The Fault in the Stars was super successful and it was like very well written, and now we get this one, and I'm like, wow, same. But kind of, I don't know. I kind of want to read more stuff from this author because it seems like it's pretty well organized, except for that little like bump in the road where I was confused what was going on. But Besides that, I mean,
I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
Author looks very young. Have you seen the back?
oh,
of
I
the-
I remove the covers, and then I'm like, I remove them so I don't have to like squish them and make them nasty, and then I end up squishing them because I
Can you
forget
show
where.
me Katie? Oh, she does look young.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah.
I have the Kindle version. I don't know if it shows it, if it because it doesn't have a jacket technically.
I wonder if she's Gen Z.
Mm.
Could be.
Is it kind of this book kind of reminds me of like an indie book a little bit, or like
Mhm.
like Fault in Our Stars,
Mm-hmm.
Looking for Alaska, those
Mm-hmm.
John Green books.
Yeah.
We should look it up. It's just kind of amusing if she's Gen Z. She probably had to do research for the part that we were talking about last time where we're like, oh, these are the games we played.
It says she's half Korean and half like Jewish, like European, like Ashkenazi Jewish, Russian, Lithuanian, Polish
Oh, wow.
on her dad's side, and then her mom's Korea immigrated here when she was 9. So she was born in New York. That's pretty cool.
45.
She's 45.
Oh,
She does
dang.
not look 45.
No, maybe just in this picture because her hair is covering a lot of her face. She's wearing very bright colors.
Nah, she looks young.
Mhm.
Wild.
So then she definitely lived through the computer era. She's probably older than us when we did that. So.
I think it's her skin. Her skincare is like amazing.
You saw a video for skincare?
I mean, not her skincare.
Oh.
Her the way her skin looks
Oh,
looks good.
like her skincare routine. I was like, damn.
No, she just has like no
Yeah.
blemishes.
Yeah.
Oh, she went to Harvard also.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I feel like she's drawing some of her own personal.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Could she be Sadie?
Maybe.
She went to college around the time the book is set in too.
Mm.
She's 45.
True. True.
So she
'Cause
probably
she was
knows a
born
real
in
scammer mark.
1977. And like if
Mhm.
she's 20, it's like 1997.
Mhm.
Oh my god. Yeah,
Ooh, interesting.
that is interesting. That's funny. It's like she could be using the book to like illustrate some parts of her life, and the characters are using the game to illustrate some parts of their lives.
I thought it was interesting. I know we mentioned it previously that like all the different parts of LA they were mentioning. I was
Mhm.
like, ooh, wait, hold on, let me add that to my list of stuff I haven't seen. Because
Yeah.
some of them I'm like, I've been or I've heard of. And there was others where I was like, what even is this? Let me check it out.
I do like the descriptions of the settings in this book too, like on the East Coast, and then the difference being in California. Like I think it's relatable. And I think still they're gonna have a falling out soon. So I wonder if it's gonna be about the game, or I mean Sadie and Sam will have a falling out. Or do you think it'll be because like maybe Sadie and Marks will get together later?
Maybe.
Yeah, because we haven't gotten to the part where they're like not talking.
Yeah. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like they mentioned a little bit of that she's, what does she say? She's disturbed or she's just not happy with something that Sam did. And I didn't quite catch that.
Maybe he took more credit than he should have.
But I think part of it was they said that they kept arguing about what they were gonna do, but in the end it seems like Sam did whatever she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like she does have more control. I just feel like maybe she doesn't like that she has to fight for it or like argue about it.
Or like be questioned because she's a girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you all think about the part when they were deciding what contract and company to go to? I was thinking maybe like Sadie could have resentment towards Sam in the future if she continues to feel like her ideas are being dismissed or she's not being given like credit or respect. Like maybe she'll get salty towards Sam in a way, like, okay, well, I made the sacrifice back then to help you like financially, and now like this is happening. I don't know.
And this game, like, they don't have a company, right? So they're gonna have to go through that process again, or I don't know.
I think they created their own, right? Their own like group.
I think so. I'm not sure.
I don't know how games work. I don't know if they need someone or they can do it themselves.
Well, Mark's had made that LLC, right? So I think they do have an office in their own company.
Yeah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's see.
And maybe I think once the company maybe it's for making the game, and then I think they have to sell it to someone, like to put it on discs and everyone to
Mm.
distribute it, if that makes sense. Like an in between the makers and the public who's going to buy the game. But I'm not sure exactly how it works.
I think Sadie got mad because she was playing that game that Dove made, and she realized he like signed it to her like sexiest person, and then she thought Sam should have known that she was with him and he's the one who broke her heart, where she got super depressed. And then she was like mad Sam made her like get back with Dove to get the Odysseus, like, because she realized he probably knew the relationship, even though he denied knowing that.
That's a good point. I think you're right, because it started since then, right, when they were kind of off, and then quite a bit has progressed, but they haven't talked about it yet. So maybe Sadie thinks Sam is selling her out.
I feel like it's all just a miscommunication aspect where one assumes one thing, the other one assumes another, and it's like, don't
Mhm.
assume, just tell each other straight up,
Right.
maybe.
I wonder if Dove's gonna come back in the picture.
Yeah,
think
I
he
didn't like the
will.
part where he was like, really, you're leaving? What, you want me to get married to you? Want me to get divorced right now? And I was like, "Ugh, that's such like it's very manipulative and toxic." And
Mhm.
I'm just like, you kept saying for what? Over 2 years, over 3 years? That he was gonna get a divorce and he didn't, and now he's like threatening her so she doesn't leave like that.
Yeah, he's being abusive, like emotionally and physically abusive for sure.
Yeah, I don't like that.
And I
Well,
do feel bad for Sadie in that point, because I feel like she probably feels stuck with him because she did have to like collaborate with him, or the team asked her to,
yeah.
So maybe she, like, by seeing the CD, like Julie was saying, or the game, maybe like Sadie kind of is like blaming Sam for that too. Like maybe it's deeper in than she knows, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I also feel like maybe towards the end, before the whole little like kissing scene between Zoe, Marks, and Sadie,
Mhm.
when Sadie was mentioning, she's like, "Oh, Sam now has a new girlfriend." I felt like that was a like jealousy kind of thing. It's like, "Oh, great, now he has someone."
Mhm.
But it could also just be me because I did read that last section myself, and I'm like, maybe it's a different tone. And I was
It
like,
could be. Like
or she just
maybe,
doesn't know what she wants.
yeah. Or she's feeling left out, like she's used to having Sam's attention, and then now he's sharing it.
That's true, because she does like we mentioned it in the previous meeting that she just likes to be praised and stuff. So like maybe I know she says she doesn't like to be the center of attention, but maybe like on a 101, she wants it to be me, 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 me.
Mhm.
So
Pick me girl.
yes, 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 yes. Picky girl, you're right.
It kind of reminds me of the one we read it during Christmas.
Oh,
Back
yeah.
In the
The December
triangle.
one.
Yep.
the
Every
big
summer after.
triangle.
Wait, no. One day in December?
One day in December.
Yeah.
Back
Yes.
to December is a song.
Yep.
The
Oh,
Taylor
yeah.
Swift song.
One
Oh.
day in December.
Mhm.
I think the Taylor Swift one is back to December, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to December.
Yeah, that it just went through my head.
Oh man. That's what my TikTok was for a while. All these Taylor Swift
Mhm.
tour.
I feel like I'm missing out on a movement in history, but I think it's just because it's on my algorithm.
Mhm.
I thought they did a good job with all the medical stuff. Like, I don't know. I feel like she knows what she's talking about with her medical stuff. And some of these books we've read, even like the anatomy one, where I know she was like researching stuff, but I could just tell it was off. But this one, I feel like she knows what she's talking about. So I'm curious if she has like a background in anything.
Mm.
Or she at least did her research, unlike some of the other. I wonder what she went to Harvard, what she majored in. She went to Harvard.
She studied English with a
Mm.
concentration in American literature.
Oh. Yeah, I do like when authors put like I tried my best to research any mistakes are my own and they think like everyone will help them.
Yeah, but I feel like I get what Julie's saying. Like in anatomy, yes, the book was named Anatomy, but it also felt like it was a bit like forced on you, telling you like, oh, I know this, I know that. Or like even in the
Mhm.
chemistry book, the lessons in chemistry, it was like chemistry up in your face. And this one is just more natural that you just kind of
Close.
don't question it and you just believe it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like she could totally be lying. I don't know. But
Even the anatomy of like the penis, that was weird, but
the anatomy of what?
sounded like a penis.
Oh yeah, when they were going through
Like that was weird, but it
Oh, like
sounded
the spongy
she knew
tissue
what
or
she was
something.
talking
I
about.
remember. Yeah.
that was giving me like lessons in chemistry vibes, where it's very, technical or very like biological, but he is nerdy like that. So I thought that was hilarious. Obviously, it wasn't like I didn't find that interesting to like read. I was like, we could have had it without it, but I get it. It's his character, and I was like, okay, sure. um from the parts of where they brought up Anna, the mom,
Mm-hmm.
why do you think that like the author is bringing her up like that and mentioning, like, I don't know, I feel like I didn't really connect the stories besides like, okay, the accident happened, and like it seems like she's kind of obsessed with like, oh, is she also Anne Lee, is she also Anna Lee, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, is that the part where she's trying to like bring in a little bit more of the race stuff to like remind us that he's half Korean or something? I know.
Do you mean like the part where it was kind of talking about her acting experience, or the part where she dies in the
I
car
think
crash?
in general,
Okay.
her stories, because I think it's been what, 2 to 3 stories where she pops up, and it's
Yeah.
always very like focused on race. So I'm wondering if she's trying to like remind us, that's like the emphasis to remind us that,
Mhm.
Or is there more to it than that?
That's a good question because I feel like we've talked about how the themes are brought up in this book and they're brought up like fairly seamlessly.
Yeah.
But and I think that one was pretty seamless too. But you're right, like in comparison to the other themes, it's not like as related to like the principal characters.
Mhm.
So I feel
Except like
oh yeah, go ahead.
except like when the accident happened, which I
Right.
didn't realize that was the accident until he's like, "Oh," and then I didn't talk to anybody until Sadie popped up, and I was like, "Oh," and it brought you back to like the beginning, you know?
Yeah, it was like a little loop. I
Yeah.
think Sam definitely blames himself for his mother's death, and I think maybe that's why when his foot is bleeding and clearly something's wrong, he's like, "Oh, it's fine," and he's just trying to mask.
Mm.
For the other parts of it, I think I do think the author is trying to make a commentary on it, or she is making a commentary. And maybe she puts it in because that's where the characters end up going back after the East Coast. Like they're all from LA area, so then they go back.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of at the moment. I wonder if the author
Curious
has
if the
characters from LA.
okay, I'm curious if the dad's gonna come back in the picture because like we only saw them have that one lunch. So was there more of a relationship? And like I feel like he's gonna come back and like want money or want to be like, oh, this is my son. He's famous.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like kind of like the same way that that girl, what was her name? The one that he lost his virginity to?
I don't remember.
Lola. I think it's Lola or something. Where she just pops up and goes to the shop and he's like to the grandparents, give this number to Sam. Tell him
Mm-hmm.
to call me. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, she's such a fangirl. And like, yeah, they do have history, but it's also very like,
The timing suspicious.
yeah, yeah.
That is true. I didn't think of that.
So maybe that's a way to ease into that. Maybe the dad will come back and do the same. Be like, oh hey son. Loved your game, by the way.
Maybe it will turn out that Sam also needs those affirmations, kind of like Sadie does, and maybe the book's gonna make like an example out of that,
Mm.
or it could go anyway. Mhm. Let me see what else we written here.
I just realized that in both sides, the last like unit I guess we read, there's A and B to
Oh,
go
you
with
talked
like
about-
A and B. I didn't actually look to see if it was A was Sam and B was Sadie. But
Mhm.
it's interesting how in the other ones it didn't say A and B. Now I feel like it makes sense
Mhm.
why the author would do that.
That is true because we did talk about it last time, like what could it mean?
Uh-huh.
But I didn't think about applying A and B to the people, so I like what you said.
Let's see. I think
John Green rated the book on the back.
he did.
Oh, read it.
He said, utterly brilliant in this sweeping, gorgeously written novel, Gabrielle Zevin charts the beauty, tenacity, and fragility of human love and creativity. Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow is one of the best books I've ever read.
Wow.
Why do you think it's called Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow? I know it's kind of early in the book, but do you think that's a video game that ends up
That's
becoming?
what I was thinking, but I also wonder if it has to do with like, PS I love you, like maybe it's something they'll say to each other
Uh,
eventually, or it's just like all the like time jumps.
yeah.
There's always a tomorrow with them.
Mm. Hmm.
I was thinking it could be like the concept of the video game, like because they kind of talk about like what's reality, what's not sometimes, I think, in the game, and like they're putting aspects of their lives. So there could be like tomorrow in real life, there could be tomorrow in the video game, and
Mhm.
there could be tomorrow in whatever, I don't know if they believe like in
Their
religion
own
or
like fantasy dreams or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
And then
Oh, I like that.
I wonder too if that's why kind of the anatomy is kind of interwoven. This is probably a stretch, but like maybe the author is talking about anatomy so that we can think and the characters can think about like, okay, well, we're just really like a pile of flesh and bone. So what does it matter if it's like reality in a video game, tomorrow in a video game, or tomorrow / reality like here with us, you know?
Hmm. That's cool because it's like it makes you think of different dimensions.
Right. That's how I took it.
The
Especially with like
multiverse.
the nature of their games, right? Like the A/B side, here's like what Sam did, here's what Sadie did, but their like own perception of what the character should go through is based on like their life perception, and so
Mhm.
therefore like it's all real, but it's all differently real to each of them and differently real to us as the readers. The mind warp.
I feel like it's kind of cool that they have a bigger message in like I think both sides where she said, "Oh, you have to die twice," and then like you
Mhm.
finally finish the game in a way, kind of
Mhm.
saying like you just gotta keep moving. And I was like, whoa. I feel like if I played video games, I wouldn't be thinking of that. I would just try and win at the end, be like, oh, I don't get it, or like, yeah, I won, and that's it. Like
That's very
mindlessly just doing it instead of actually thinking, do they have a bigger message for me?
Mhm. That makes sense. Most video games that I have played are very much like linear, like okay, get to point A, point
Yeah.
B, and then either win or you're losing or done. It's like very binary, very A/B, like
Yeah.
focusing. But some of these games, like there is no win or lose, like you have to lose in that round, but
Mhm.
it makes the gamers like question the process.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the Star Trek and the Kobayashi Maru, like where they have that little training where they're supposed to force lose to like mimic what it would be like to lose your ship in the field and like lose people in the field. And then that guy like hacks the system and makes it so he can win, but he doesn't get like the main lesson of what they're trying to teach him.
And what is that?
If you ever, I haven't seen the old Star Trek episodes, but in the movie,
Oh.
at the beginning, there's a scene where Captain Kirk he's at the Starfleet Academy or something, and they make him go through like classes, and there's a simulation that they have to go through in order to start being a cadet, and they're pretending to be a captain. But what they don't know, or what they think they don't know, is that like the game is rigged for them to lose because it's mimicking failure. Like what a captain may have to make difficult calls. He might lose himself, his life, he might lose his ship, or like his crewmates. But Kirk, like he decides to be clever because I guess no one's ever beaten it, and he figures out a way to hack it, and so he makes it so he can win. But then everyone gets really mad and he gets in trouble because it's like cheating. So he questions it. He's like, well, is it even like possible to win? Like. And he says something like, oh, I don't believe, at least in the movie, he says like, I don't believe in like no win scenarios, I think. But that just came to mind too. That also, like that game was supposed to teach a lesson. Nerd alert, sorry.
But now that I think of it, the dimensions part that you were saying,
Mhm.
I think it could work because you know how he was saying like, oh, if if not my dad, if the mom wasn't there and she wasn't in the accident, and if she had actually turned on the light, you know how he was going through all these steps. He's like, if I didn't even if she had not been with my dad and I had not been born, like there would have been different like possibilities that could have happened, which
Yeah.
that goes with the whole different like multiverses and stuff. And I was like, So I feel like I could work. I could definitely work that tomorrow, tomorrow, and tomorrow are the different dimensions of the present, maybe the video game, maybe fantasy in their actual mind. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think
the
that
past and-
that concept like really shapes Sam's process when he's gaming. Like even if then it's called like conditional formatting and programming. And it's like kind of like in math, right? Like on those theorems, whatever. If this is true, then this has to be true.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's trying to like make an alternate narrative. Especially with that first game at least. But I'm curious to see like how their gaming concepts and how their programming will change because it's like a language. Every programmer has like the way that they do it,
Mhm.
And it can show some of their personality, I think. But we'll see. It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm. For my
Yeah.
tech, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna share for my tech museum work. I got put in like the computer science section.
Mhm.
And so we had to program a little game and it was so hard. And it's like the most basic little thing. There's a website called Scratch through MIT that's supposed to help like kids like learn about programming.
Yeah.
And people like design little games and then there's a button that you can click on and it shows you the code. And then you can mess with the code to like edit your own copy of whatever someone else made. But we had to make one from scratch and it took us a long time. So that's why I'm like, well, this is really I never, I guess, put much thought into like really how much programming, like especially the more modern video games must take because the graphics are so good.
Yeah.
It takes hours and hours and hours. Let's see if I can find my little game and send it to you guys.
I wanted to do, there's like I think it's free. I don't know if it's exactly coding, but Google has like a coding class you could do.
Oh yeah, it's like Code EDU, right?
Yeah. Just to see if I can do it. So then one day I can be rich in code.
I know Scratch is like pretty much all I've done except for block coding, which I do with my students sometimes, but that's more just like showing the concept. So you move different blocks in and the commands are kind of already in there. Then there's also Python that I think I've heard of like some teacher workshops for, but I'm curious about it, but I don't use it enough in like what I do every day to be like, okay, let's do it. But
Mhm.
I do like the idea of learning how to do it.
I feel like Python is one of the older languages.
Maybe. I have no idea.
I
I could ask my friend Vicky from Colorado. She would know.
would hear people talk about that and some people would be like, that's an old thing. People don't even use it anymore. And I was like, oi.
Oh my gosh.
But I don't know. There's a lot
Okay.
of languages out there.
My friend from Colorado that I went to high school with, she's really smart and she like double majored in math and computer science. So now she works somewhere, she codes for her living. But I remember like in high school she was like already saying like, oh yeah, I'm like learning Java, and I'm like, whoa, this is so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious now like what she codes for and what does she do, And there's a really good documentary called Coded Bias or something, and it talks about how sometimes through lack of diversity, like in computer science majors, like sometimes the codes that people write for things can be like really detrimental to like minorities and people of color. And so that's a really good watch. I'll try, I think it's called Coded Bias.
Our next section is
Oh, yeah, I found it.
5A to this one actually cuts nicely.
Okay, good.
Yeah. 5A to stop before hitting unit. I'm gonna call it unit 8, Our Infinite Days. So don't read Our Infinite Days. What chapter is the last one you read? Oh, just read NPC. So 5A to unit 7, and that's it. And it's a clear cutoff at Our Infinite Days.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. It's kind of nice.
Are we deciding a theme today?
Oh, that's what I
or
was gonna-
the
yeah.
proposals next week?
Let's see. What is our what year are we? What
Hola.
year? What month? Hello. What month? What month?
I think next month starts like Asian and Pacific Islander month.
Also Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Memorial Day. Summer.
Ooh, because there was this like I was with Crystal a long time ago. We were talking about book themes and I was putting them through like the months. And I don't have one for March, I don't have one for April, but I have one for May. And I have Mental Health Awareness Month, which I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you can fact check that one, but because mental health, I put
I
slash
think it is.
psychological,
Mm-hmm.
like a psychological, huh?
Psychological thriller.
Yeah. But I
What
don't
would
know.
happen if you don't
Or
take
like-
care of your mental health?
What was that?
Psychological.
Like
It-
that one Paula pitch that was like a self-help book.
Yeah, mental health book.
Midnight Library.
Which I feel like,
Quite a few of them we've read have touched upon those themes. Yeah.
yeah, not necessarily like a full-on self-help, although that book I think would fall great in this one. So I guess just related to some mental health
All right.
in a way, if you guys want. Is that okay, or do you want to come up with a different one? Like,
That's fine.
I think
yeah.
that's good because it's a range. You can go.
You can
One
go
end.
psychological or you can do self-help.
Fiction or nonfiction. Mhm.
Yeah. Let me just awareness month. What is that? It is May.
Already me.
Okay, let's do that. Cool. It's gonna be May. I just felt like I had to.
There's Little Go Noodle. There's a website called Go Noodle, and they do like a lot of dancing videos for kids, and some of them are kids bops for kids. And those little, those little tweens do covers of like pop songs that are big. And some of them are Bye 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 and It's Gonna Be Me. And the kids don't know the songs, but sometimes I make them like sing and dance to that one because I like it. I'm just like, yes, we're jamming. Like, Miss Gonzalez, what is this song? And I'm just like, oh my god.
It's educational. Just sing it.
It's
History.
more for me than for them, but it's fine.
It's history.
It's
It's vintage.
vintage.
Learn it. Your parents will appreciate it. That's funny. Okay, let me just start recording. I'm gonna stop right here. Okay, see you next week. Boom.